What is financial freedom? Everyone wants it, and today we're going to discuss why more people haven't achieved it. Stick around.
Enjoy the episode.
Welcome to the Infinite Wealth Podcast, where we teach clients how to build wealth and create passive income without the risk of Wall Street.
Welcome to the Infinite Wealth Podcast. I'm Cameron Christensen, along with our co-host Anthony Faso. And today we're going to be talking about what is financial freedom. Everyone's talking about it, but very few people have actually achieved it. And so today what we're going to be discussing is why that is, and hopefully we'll give you some pointers that will point you in the right direction.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think this will be a great podcast. There's going to be some good information. A lot of people define financial freedom differently.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to go over how typical financial planners define it, how we define it, and how you can achieve it.
Excellent. Great summary.
Yeah,
Anthony, kick us off here, man. Tell us how traditional planners have defined financial freedom.
Okay, I don't want to say the pleasure. I don't know what word, but
the enlightenment.
Yeah, I've had a typical financial planner. And I remember sitting down with him, and what he would ask is, at what age did I want to retire? I mean, I think I was in my early 30s, so I think I said 50 or 55 because that seemed like so old or so so much time in the future.
How old are you now?
I'm past 50, but, and it went like that.
Yeah.
But what it was, well, I got this nice book. I mean, I had to pay like with him, I had to pay an annual planning fee. I think it was between $700 and $1,500 a year. But with that, I got this cool door stopper / book about this thick of kind of all the plans and blah, blah. I never looked at it.
Yeah.
But what it was, I mean, I tell you, there was no plan. But you know what it was? It was focused on building the net worth, right? Just work, store away, and I hope that this money grows. So when you're at that time for retirement, you could start draining down those assets. But again, I had very little to no control over it, and also education, right? I wasn't learning how to make money. I was learning how to write checks and to do transfers. Because back then, that's what you had to do is actually write a check to your financial planner. But you know, it seemed so far away, and it just seemed so intangible, where it really didn't. It didn't move. It wasn't my why. It didn't make me passionate about it. So, you know, I did keep one of those plans just for at some point. I think we might pull it out. But I think the point, I know I'm a little long-winded here, but the point I'm trying to make with typical financial planning, they define financial freedom as focusing on building a high net worth. And believe me, I don't want a low net worth, right? But the key to financial freedom is not having a high net worth. And I know we've talked about a client a few times on here where someone is worth $2 million or a net worth $2 million, but over $1 million of it is an asset that's still liquid. It's land that's been passed down, and it's not only is it not creating income, it's creating expenses because they have to pay the property tax. So she looks great on paper with a high net worth, but she's still having some difficulty trying to cover her monthly expenses.
Anthony, I agree with you. You are long-winded. So that was great, but you made a couple of comments there that I'm going to use to kind of keep this thing moving. One of the things that you mentioned was the lack of control. Anthony, you and I have been doing this for a long time, and that is a common theme when we're talking to somebody, especially early on. And when we go through kind of our hierarchy of wealth, which is some of the tiers that we're going to walk a client through to help them achieve kind of financial freedom, when we get to that pinnacle, which is going to be tier 4, which is pure speculation, that's where a lot of people have a bulk or a majority of their wealth. And when they see this thing outlined, there's a lot of different reactions to this hierarchy, really what we're pointing out to these people as they kind of come and they approach us is that, hey, listen, you can reallocate the assets that you have in this purely speculative account, reinvest it down here at the bottom, build out a great foundation, and then you can ascend this hierarchy dependent upon your skill set. And there's a lot of reactions that you get when you point that out to somebody, but most of them are very emotional reactions, right? They're like, man, I have been looking for this for the longest time. I just never knew its name, right? Or there's like this uneasiness that they have because they've been in this situation for so long and they've never been given an alternative. And so infinite banking comes along and we're talking to them about, hey, reallocating assets and let's work to some of your strengths and start creating passive income. And again, right, that just hits home with a lot of people. If you guys have questions on kind of what that hierarchy of wealth looks like, feel free to reach out to us. We'll give you a quick introduction to it and kind of walk you through that. But Anthony, I'm going to ask you.
Well, before we do that, we did do a podcast on that a while back, but that got me thinking, that hierarchy of wealth, there's different tiers of risk of putting assets. Mm-hmm. My financial planner, I was all in on the speculative.
Yeah.
Right. Very little on more of the more ones that have certainty, control, and collateral. So big difference as you're going to see how a typical financial planning defines financial freedom compared to how we do it.
Oh, man, we could keep going on and on, right?
Yeah.
About hierarchy of wealth. But Anthony, right along those same lines, right? I'm going to ask you to succinctly maybe give our listeners a definition of how we define financial freedom.
Very simply, it's very similar to Robert Kiyosaki's definition, is your passive income to be more than your monthly expenses. And, you may have seen some of our content where we have these shirts. Cameron's wearing one right now where it has your PI for pie. Passive income is more than monthly expenses, or ME. And I like to quickly say it. Financial freedom is I want my pie, my passive income, to be bigger than me. And that's not set on a date or a certain age. You know what? It's just more of that number. And if you are in control of how fast or how slow you achieve that financial freedom.
Great. So we got financial freedom is passive income exceeding monthly expenses. Anthony, passive income, right, is a phrase that's often kind of thrown around. Mm-hmm. I don't know if ours is the same or close, but I say we share kind of the way that we approach passive income with our listeners. What is a definition, a working definition that you have of passive income?
I would say that the income is not dependent upon exchanging time for money.
Okay.
Or one thing I like to say, it's income earned by your assets, not by your effort.
Okay.
How would you phrase it?
I heard this term somewhere, and it's a leveraged income, right? Is there's little time or effort that goes into the reward, right? Which is that income. And so one of the things that we're going to talk about here in a minute is that passive income is not created passively, right? So there is some effort that needs to go into that. And so that's why I kind of like maybe that leveraged income idea. It just helps me kind of reframe it a little bit. So great. I appreciate you sharing that. One of the things I was going to do before we kind of dive into how you can actually create financial freedom and passive income is we do need to get our mind right. There's some ways that we need to approach this. And what I thought of when I was thinking about preparing for this is I thought about some of the thought process that people kind of go through as we start to work with them. And one of the first things that I thought was interesting that I want to share with you guys in this is that when people realize that just the average everyday person, right? Like myself, right? Mm-hmm. Anthony, you're amazing and exceptional, right? You'll tell everybody that, but
well, you just told everybody that.
Just the average person has access to the same tools that everybody else does, all the wealthy, right? It's just a matter of the way that you use them. And I think that's one of the key things that people first learn when they start to look at infinite banking is that, man, there's tools out there that maybe we're just not using to our full advantage. And maybe we didn't even know that we could use it to our advantage. And so that's one of the things I think that a lot of people learn early on is some people are choosing to use different tools in a manner that's more beneficial to them. So big learning curve there. The other,
I think, Kevin, to me, that was enlightening.
Yeah.
Not what you just said, okay, because I already knew that. But when I kind of first, I like to say when I took the blinders off,
Mm-hmm.
because when I was working with a typical financial planner, I thought the only place I can invest is the stock market. It's just whether is it inside or outside my 401k.
Yeah.
Right. But when I was enlightened that there's a lot more products out there, and when you see what the wealthy are doing, it's the same tax code, right? It's the same products. It's the same economy. It's just whether we need to choose to be intentional of learning more about these other ways to create income.
Great. The other thing I was going to share here was that I mentioned a minute ago, but passive income is not created passively, right? I think that is probably one of the big misconceptions out there, is that people think, hey, passive income, I don't have to do anything for it. That couldn't be farther from the truth, to be totally honest with you. I had a gentleman the other day. I don't know if I told you this, Anthony. I had a gentleman the other day, right? Client, he has access to my calendar. He booked a meeting on my schedule. Scheduled a meeting on my calendar. Thank you. And we jump on the phone, and we're talking, and there really wasn't much of anything of importance that was being discussed. And I was like, man, you know what? He may be listening to this, right? So I'm like,
I was thinking the same thing.
Right? Like, I'm trying to, like, what's on your mind, man? Like, I can tell that you're kind of holding something back. And one of the things that he stated was that, man, I thought this policy was going to give me like this enlightenment. I think that was the word that he used. Like, it was going to get me there. And I kind of sat back and I was like, man, I wonder how many other people think that, right? So again, the policy in IBC is the conduit to financial freedom, which we're going to touch on that later. So I don't want to go in too much into that, but really the policy is the place that you're going to put the money. That's the holding account, right? As far as like creating passive income, man, there is absolutely time and effort that is needed to co-create that income, that passively, right? So what you've got to do is you got to go educate yourself. You got to go do your due diligence. You got to go learn potentially some skill sets, right, that are going to get you an advantage kind of in that marketplace. And then what follows is that income, right, that is going to come with that as you add value to whatever area that you're going to be working in. And the great thing about this is that once that income is created, it could potentially be perpetual, right? So you create that income, unless you go and consume it with just lifestyle, is, man, you can stack that up, turn around, reinvest it, and keep going that way. And so that is a big takeaway that I hope a lot of people hear. And I hope that's the message we're given, and we're not overselling. Yeah, exactly. Right. Is that passive income is certainly created through time and effort and education, first and foremost. So want to make sure we touch on that. The other one is, if you're going to go out there looking to create financial freedom and you're looking at opportunities to create passive income, one of the best things that you can start with is what's important to you and why. Right? As we talk about this all the time, is you've got to find your why in order to find or to have that motivation to continue to move forward. Right? Again, it's not going to be easy when you get started. If you're out there learning a new skill set, right, you're learning a new industry or something new, is there's going to be some drawbacks. There's going to be some setbacks. And so you've got to be able to have your why at the forefront to remind you as to why you're going to keep on going. And what's crazy about it is that why is going to be different for everybody. Right? So sometimes it could be your kids, it could be parents, it could be just, hey, I want to have a whole bunch of money in the bank, right? But there's got to be some thought that you're going to put into figuring out what your why is before you get started. So Anthony, I've got a question for you. Yeah. So what is financial freedom? What is financial freedom to you?
Well, I would say when first, when I got re-engaged with Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and this time, instead of just reading it, I wanted to put it into action. And for a long time, my goal is I want to create my passive income number, right? So I started to pursue some different businesses and investments. And what I found is that I kind of took on a little too much, right? But what had happened was I took more time away from my family than what I had originally wanted to. And so I had to kind of figure out really what what my why was and really what I wanted my life to be like and to look like. And I will tell you what I don't want it to look like is every day is a Saturday where
What do you mean?
I'm kind of in retirement or I'm not working. I'm just every day's a Saturday. Sleep in, stay up late, just kind of it's a fun day. And those fun days are important, but I would tell you for me, I need to be I enjoy what I do.
Yeah.
And so I this does fill me up. So what I learned is that maybe I don't need to focus so much on that passive income number now. I mean, we're growing a business here, and I'm devoting my time here, which I enjoy. And so this, to me, with the financial freedom, is more about more of the freedom piece of being able to work because I want to, not because I have to. But even in a more macro level, not only can I do things that I want to do, I don't have to do things that I don't want to do. Like to me, that has been freeing, either being able to delegate or to pay people um, to do things that I don't want to do. And also now that my kids are I'm having grandkids, I'm thinking more of the legacy and not just financial, but more importantly, sense or like financial sense.
Yeah.
So part of me is I want to be, I tell you, nobody taught me about financial freedom or about money. My parents didn't, but I wanted to make sure that my kids can never say the same thing about me. So I'm starting to feed into them, and I will be feeding into my grandchildren as well. And to me, a key thing here, as you said, it is different to everybody. Most of the time, people hate their job,
Ooh.
right? And what they really want is they don't want to have to go to work anymore. What we'd encourage you to do is find a job that you love or create one by having your own business. And then that way, when you do go to work or to the office, it's more fulfilling as opposed to draining. Now, Cam, I had a short little answer to that. What is financial freedom to
you know
Cameron?
you know what else somebody didn't show you in life was to give a short answer, right? Because those are long. But if you guys are still with us, I appreciate that, and I'm just giving Anthony a hard time. But financial freedom to me, man, when I was thinking about this is to be totally honest, I feel like I've achieved, right, some sense of financial freedom. Is we have built, right, there's been a lot of time and a lot of energy and effort that's gone into building this business. But man, there's a lot of freedom that has come along with this as well. And so the lifestyle that we've built from this business has been pretty awesome, to be totally honest with you guys.
Can we expand on the freedom? Like share some examples or.
Yeah, happy
I
to.
love putting you on the spot.
Yeah, is I don't know how many people know our schedule, right? But man, we take off when we want.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There's really not too many restrictions, right? You and I try not to be out of the office at the same time for too much time kind of overlapping.
Mm-hmm.
But man, if you look at like our summer schedules is, my focus right now, personally is just doing as much stuff as I can with the kids. Right. So on the weekends, right, we're taking off, we're taking long weekends, we're trying to get out of town as much as possible and just giving these kids some pretty awesome experiences. And so the business and the occupation, right, has allowed me, us, my family to be able to do that. So to be there feels really, really good. And then also to be able to come back and enjoy what we're doing and having fun building this thing is pretty great as well. And so that piece to it, you touched on it, just finding something that you're passionate about, something that I feel like I'm pretty good at advising and educating people on this process. So feels pretty good. I feel like I'm there, right? So yeah,
That's good.
Thanks, man.
Good
Financial freedom, what I would say as a whole to me, when I look at this, is just about taking back control, right? We kind of opened up this whole conversation with what people have done traditionally, right? Where they've outsourced that money. And one thing that I will tell you, the first step in financial freedom is taking back that control. And the reason I was pointing this out is because, again, I was meeting with a client, I don't know, it was earlier this week or last week, but I remember this conversation vividly. The client was concerned about having too much money in the checking account, savings accounts. He was worried about the money that was in his brokerage account, right, in his investment accounts, and he didn't know where to put it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. He'd been introduced to infinite banking. We'd given him some options, right? But his mindset was still stuck on, hey, I've got money here. I'm concerned about it losing value. And so the conversation I had with him was, first and foremost, when it comes to financial freedom, one is you got to get your money in a safe place. Right. And when you do that, your mindset is going to change. Right. Your mindset then shifts from all these concerns about all this bad stuff that could happen.
Mm-hmm.
And once you get in a place that's safe and protected, you got liquidity, you got access to it, dude. Now your mind is not consumed with those types of thoughts anymore. And so then what you're able to do is you're then able to progress and say, okay, listen, now what am I going to go do with this? And so that was the conversation that I had with him. I said, hey, Jim, right? Here's your issue, right? Is that we're still kind of half in, half out, right? If that's a concern, you're not going to be able to progress. And so it was a really good conversation, kind of a very productive meeting with that client. So again, I thought I'd pass it along with you guys. Financial freedom, right, is taking back control. And so IBC is the conduit to financial freedom. If you look at the places that somebody, just regular people, can be putting money, a properly designed whole life insurance policy is hands down the single greatest place that you can start to accumulate cash. There's no restrictions, no government oversight. And like I just mentioned again, is that, man, you can do what you want with it. And that just changes your mindset for you to go out there and look for opportunities to put your money to work.
Perfect.
Yeah. Anthony, what do you got to share, man? Why do we do it?
Well, I would tell you, if we want to achieve that financial freedom, I'd say there's a couple things that are crucial. For one, we must be intentional. This isn't just going to happen to you. You can't take a passive role like we do with the typical financial planner. You're going to need to intentionally be moving forward to creating this passive income. And also, you need to think long term. This isn't going to happen. This is not going to happen overnight, right? We're doing something different. So we need to learn a different way to do it, right? And we need to be patient, and things will come. And so the next step is, how do we do it? How do we create passive income to be more than our monthly expenses? And really, there's two ways to do it. And one is we need to have a business or an investment. We need something that is generating income that's not connected to our efforts, but it's our money making money. Now, I think the fastest way is going to be creating or buying a business, right? And some of the advantage to that is there is no ceiling, right? A good business is scalable and saleable, but it's going to take some time, and it is going to take some effort. And I went back and was reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, and one thing I didn't realize reading it, how many other times you did, plus one.
I went back and read it twice.
Right. But the rich dad, he wasn't financially rich for a while. Right at the beginning of the book, he's struggling and he is building these businesses. It took time, but then he finally was able to do that. Now, a lot of times when people think business, I think they're thinking large, brick and mortar, a bunch of employees needing a lot of capital. That is just not so. There's a lot of ways that you can create or buy a business. And some example, there's Infinite Wealth Podcast has had plenty of examples where you can create a business from your home with minimal capital and no employees. And well, some of the ways we've talked about that is building a brand on Amazon. We have quite a few clients that are doing that. And again, that is designed with the end in mind to be able to sell it, create that passive income, and then be able to sell the business. We also have a lot of people using these short-term rentals or Airbnb properties. We're flipping land or real estate. And the last podcast we had, which I really enjoyed, was flipping websites. I mean, you can buy websites for a few thousand that are making a few $100s, and you can either keep that cash flow, or try to improve the cash flow and package it and resell it.
Yeah.
I mean, like, talk about taking the blinders off. Like, I never even thought about something like this. And then here is an example, something that you can do literally anywhere, or if you're working your full-time job, something that you can do at night. And, on a bigger scale, I mean, you could buy more of a traditional business or a franchise. I have many clients who love doing that. Right now, and the other way is some sort of investment, some sort of investment that is producing hopefully a predictable cash flow. And to me, a great way for that is turnkey real estate, meaning that somebody else finds the properties, they manage it, they collect the rent, they take the phone calls, and when somebody gets evicted, needs to be evicted, they handle all that stuff. You are just the money man. And if we talk about something that's passive, this is about as passive as you can get. Once you do your due diligence on the house and then and purchase it with the turnkey provider, it's pretty passive. So this is great for somebody who loves their job, right? Or maybe they're busy with the kids and don't have the time to create a business. Now, there's also syndications as well, which we've had a few on our podcast. The downside of the syndication is we're not learning anything, right? And we don't have the control. But that is a great fit. There's some great ones that will produce some cash flow and have some great tax benefits.
Well said. Should we give him a teaser, Anthony?
Before we give him the teaser, we just focus on the pie. We didn't mention anything about the me in the monthly expenses. And so one thing we need to keep in mind, which is very difficult to do, is when we start making more money, we have a tendency to spend more money, going out to eat more, or maybe we have a nicer car, or maybe get a bigger house or vacations. I mean, if financial freedom is important to you, we need to focus on the monthly expenses, but we also need to make sure that we control. We create passive income, but we also want to manage the monthly expenses. But one thing I don't like to do, well, and neither does my wife, is to live like a pauper. Right? You listen to Dave Ramsey or somebody, and they're going to tell you, okay, well, just eat ramen and let's scale back on everything. I don't want to live like that. My thing is, I would rather just make more money than eat ramen. But
great point. I often see that too, right? Is that people get so consumed with just focusing on cutting expenses, right, and taking it all the way down the bare minimum, when, man, we should be devoting a large majority of that effort to the passive income side. What can we do to develop a skill set and create some income for ourselves? Good point.
Because the monthly expenses, you can only get them down so low.
Yeah.
But your passive income, there is no ceiling. So good point. We need to focus more on the passive income, but just be prudent in regards to the monthly expenses. Now, what's his teaser?
The teaser is what you just did, right? You went through each one of these not each one, but you covered maybe 7 or 8 there of the opportunities, and you kind of started to list them, highs and lows about them, like the good and the bad. And that's exactly what we've been working on putting together for you guys. So we have I don't know if we decided on a name yet, but
I don't think we've agreed on a name because I kind of want to change it. But
well, good, because then we're going to go with my name, which is going to be the cash flow matrix. You guys so what we've been doing is organizing the investments that we've participated in, that we've researched, that we've highlighted on our podcast, and we've ranked those based upon how much time, how much effort, how much capital is needed, your expected returns, and kind of your hold period. So we have ranked those for you guys, and that's part of our process that we've been doing with clients for a while. We just kind of are making it a formal piece of what we're going to be doing, and maybe sharing it with you guys. We'll see here. So a little bit of a teaser.
Well, and I think that I think there's many things that makes us different than other IBC teams. We're not just only focused on setting up the policy, but what are we going to do with it?
Yeah.
And kind of part of our process starts with the education, learning about infinite banking, how it works, why it works. But then once we have that policy in place, we shift gears to the execution phase. Now I got this money. What do I do with it? And so this is part of our process. And if this is something you want to learn more about, get on a discovery call with us or one of our coaches, and we can talk about, answer your questions and see how and if IBC is for you. That link will be in the show notes.
Awesome. Today, guys, we talked about what is financial freedom. Everybody wants it, but very few people have actually achieved it. First, we started off with giving you guys some definitions, and then we talked about some of the mindset stuff that we need to address before we start creating that passive income. And then we gave you some practical how-tos on actually how to go out there and start creating it. So we hope this was a great episode for you. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you hit that subscribe button, the link below.
Go make it a fantastic day.
Take care.
If you like this video, I know you're like this one. And if you want to learn how investors use infinite banking to increase their returns and lower their taxes, check this out. And if you have some questions and want to see if infinite banking is for you, hop on a discovery call with us. Link for that will be in the description.